Yes, you guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'm joined by a very special guest, Jan from Football Therapy, and in this video today, we want to just discuss some of the craziness that has been Chelsea's weekends over these past 7 days, from Lukaku's interview to left back, right back transfer news, to our 4-2-2 game against Spurs, as well as our recent 5-1 win against Chesterfield as well too. So I hope you guys definitely do enjoy. Very happy to have Jan on as well. Of course, you guys, show us some love. Check out his latest videos as well too. All the information in the descriptions and in the card above. And without wasting no more time, yes, Jan, how you doing today, man?
Good, Nini, mate. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking Chelsea. Before we went live on air, we've been talking all kinds of stuff, so I'm looking forward to bringing it in about football now, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I feel we always have like good conversations, like, to be fair. But again, anyway, getting back to the main thing, the football. I mean, I think to start this off, I think we have to quickly just give our thoughts on the whole Lukaku interview scandal. I mean, looking back now that we're out of that pressure cooker environment,
yeah, man.
Does it really feel like a scandal, like it was once marketed during this, like the past 7 days?
I mean, definitely not. It's the thing is, football is super fickle anyway. So regardless, it was always gonna blow over. It was absolutely a strong talking point. It was peculiar, and he's such a sort of, high profile player, and obviously the record signing and the timing, and we knew that it was 3 weeks before, but Sky Italia basically just did, from their perspective, good journalism, and they waited for a pressure point, and that's because they're like journalists, it's what they do, right?
Yeah.
And then you've obviously got all these perspectives of Lukaku is a very intelligent guy, speaks 7 languages. What I found quite funny that I learned is he actually has a graduate degree in PR, which seems quite
Use that very well.
Yeah. But he's always been admired for speaking his, having his heart on his sleeve and speaking his mind. Although I think collective opinion was that wasn't too smart. To be honest, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on it as well, mate. But I don't know where he is. I believe he does want to make it and stay at Chelsea, but it has left a sort of peculiar thing. Is he so happy with how things are going, what the homecoming's been like? Obviously, if he scores loads of goals and we win something, it would seem all safe and calm, but it just seemed kind of peculiar looking back, and we know something that we've discussed before, certainly I've seen in your content as well, is he wants to be running that sort of right channel towards goal, and he wants to be utilised appropriately, even in games where the last game yesterday in the FA Cup, he didn't have the greatest game. He scored a goal, but he still looks like he was working that channel. And hopefully from here, we can look back on that interview that should never have happened, but look back on it in a way that, a bit of a family argument internally, everyone made up, and they sort of learnt to grow from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's definitely the measured outcome to this whole situation. I get it from like a football perspective. You have to remember sometimes, players of his level, for the money he costs, his profile, what he's done in the game, they care very much about their careers. I mean, they look after themselves, they're on special diets, they're on special training regimes, they're very much professionals in that sense. So I think it's normal that players will have discussions with their managers if they're maybe a bit unhappy or feel they're being limited with how they've been used. I think it's natural to have that convo. I do think that Lukaku's whole thing though of appeasing to the Inter Milan fans, ultimately it was in vain, and I think it was always going to be in vain, because football fans, we don't really forgive. And the only way you could ever say sorry to Inter fans was if he, decided to just forego his contract, sign for free, play for a season, earning nothing, and become their top scorer. That's the only way, really. And that's not going to happen.
Do you know, bro? There's a great thing you said about it all being in vain as well. Because pretend the Chelsea side never happened in terms of upsetting Chelsea and doing an apology video. Pretend none of that happened, in isolation. If he could just have the gift of hindsight and see what the Inter fans did. So he had no idea he upset Chelsea fans, and you said this is the reaction of Inter fans. You still feel like you've spoken your apologies. Would you do it again? He'd be like, absolutely not.
Exactly.
The ultras left that stay in the storm, run away in the rain outside the San Siro. He even if he feels like, oh, I feel alleviated because I've said sorry. If he could go back and say, oh, you just irritated him. Even if he doesn't know about the upset of Chelsea, he wouldn't have do it. He wouldn't have done it again.
That's what I mean. And it's just like, like those Inter fans, you know what I mean? It's been a tough year for everyone with COVID and stuff as well. Yeah, a bit upset they've lost their top goal scorer. They just literally finished having Christmas. I think they just wanted to go into the new year with better vibes and better mentality. And then you're out here reminding them of your snakery and how you acted like a rat towards them. It's probably not the best way for them to start the new year as well too. So I agree with you. I do think that if you had to do it again, you'd say no. And I think that's the irony of just I don't know, everyone wants to use their platform to speak their truth in a sense, but we're living in times where I feel like that can be a bit redundant at times, especially if you're not going to have any victory at the end from that. So I guess at least now I'm sure he's still popular with the team, manager and players, so there's not going to be any long-lasting repercussions from this at all. And I do think that maybe then by next month we'll really forget about this as well, and it's going to become a bit of a non-story. Me personally, I didn't think it was even that deep, to be fair. But yeah, I think it'd be an absolute non-story.
It will become anecdotal, won't it? Drogba wanted to leave at times, and all these players have. In Man United, loads of their greats wanted that.
Let's not forget, John Terry used Man City interest at the time to get himself a bigger contract. The thing is, I don't find anything offensive by that. It's just how the game is. It's just how you have to operate to get what you want. It's how the business works. So I think that's probably enough of Lukaku. The only time I want to speak about him now is if he's scoring goals, basically. So now let's move on to the next talking point. And I guess this is probably the perfect thing to discuss this month, because we are now back in the market again after Chilwell being out for the season, Reece James picking up an unfortunate injury, which means he's going to be out for up to 2 months now due to that hamstring. We're looking very thread thin in the fullback areas, and we clearly can't rely upon Aspie and Alonso forever, especially during crunch times like this. Next 2 months, big games, must win. This can really just affect the destiny of how your season's going to end. And then now it seems like we are back in the market, from options like Digne to Emerson, as well as Sergio Dest from Barcelona. Jan, we need to try and make some sense of this whole monthly situation. I mean, what are you thinking?
All right, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Well, I'll tell you what the sort of the sort of headlines have been like. Apparently, I'll give my thoughts on the players. So apparently, the club's preference is Emerson recall, and although that might not excite fans, it probably makes a lot of sense and Tuchel said it's a player we like, and we like as a person. He went out of his way to say that, which I think is really important, without bringing in a risky external personality that needs to settle, that needs to build chemistry on the pitch. A lot of stuff. He trusted Emerson as a left centre back, a left wing back, a left winger, a right winger. He wasn't playing a lot of the time, and if you remember last half of season, he was always saying he was always bigging up Emerson. He was like, look, and Emerson, because he trains so well and I'm not playing him, and he's so good, and I feel really bad, and he deserves time. Let's send him to Lyon, a high profile club. Do you know what I mean? So you can understand that he's probably on very affordable wages to bring back. You're not committing to 100k on Digne. You're not risking in terms of a different profile of player bringing them in. So that's on Emerson. I'll give my thoughts on the other two before I guess I want to hear your thoughts as well, bro. But Luka Digne, by the way, I'm just going to turn this light on here so you guys can see my face a little bit better. Luka Digne is he was one of my favourite, if not my favourite, left back a few years ago, before we got Chilwell. I really loved Luka Digne. I think he's a really dynamic player, great engine. Essentially, he can be a very, very top tier left back. He still plays for France. I looked at the France international team. I think he's like 50-50 or with Theo Hernandez in terms of rotation. I think he might have had the last 6. I think he might have played 4 of the last 6, in fact. So he's still highly rated. The fact is, he's fallen out with Benitez. But all the points I made with Emerson, of course, you bring in Digne's, and he wants the same as Alonso, which by the way, if we are to believe reports, is still only half of what Chilwell's on. They're both on so and he's probably an upgrade on Alonso in terms of player profile, being closer to Chilwell than Alonso is in terms of his profile. So you get it, and you get why Chelsea would probably want a 6 months loan with an option to buy. Apparently they want to flog him, might not work. And finally on Dest, if we are to believe headlines, £16.5 million, 20 million euros. Very affordable for a player who's a young US men's international, who's played for Ajax, who's played for Barcelona and playing for Chelsea. Look at that resume of players for a guy who's very young. This guy is going to retain sell-on value. Pulisic and Dest, US, massive market in USA. Fans don't want to hear that so much because, we've had great academy players, but ultimately, from a business perspective, that's a pretty low-risk purchase for a player that can cover on both sides as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think the reality is we can't commit to signing anyone on a permanent this month. We have 4 left backs on the books right now. Ben, it's like, what's his wages? It's like 190k.
190, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Alonso's on 150k. You've got Emerson, who's probably on like 75, 80 right now. And you have Baba Rackman, who's doing this thing
I always
Reading.
forget about Baba.
You always forget about Baba. He's doing this thing at Reading as well. So to potentially sign a 5th one when for the past like 2 seasons, we've struggled to even sell Emerson or Alonso this entire time. I think that could potentially set us up for failure, to be honest. So I think, listen, Barcelona, they have terrible financial issues right now. I firstly feel like if Emerson doesn't go through because maybe like the contractual obligations in the loan deal to begin with, they don't benefit Lyon and they have more like maybe power to say no and resist any loan recall, then I think Dest could be signed on loan. And I think Dest, for me, I guess it's like a calculated gamble. I think you have to take calculated risks in football sometimes. It's not the perfect player, of course. But I do think maybe playing as a wing back under Tuchel maybe could make that transition a bit easier for him. I think maybe having that protection behind, having great centre backs in behind, Christensen, Rudiger, all these guys available, Trev, who can help really mitigate some of those defensive weaknesses he does have. I'd be curious to see how he would adapt to the Premier League.
It's another risk, isn't it?
Exactly, but again, if it's a loan and he's on a crazy wage as well, and we can tell Barca, listen, take this 5-6 mil loan fee or 10 mil loan fee, we'll cover his wages, and listen, maybe we'll have more talks in the summer about obligations to buy if we like him and he's shown what he can do. But I think for me, the priority has to be Emerson first, and we have to find out very quickly, is there something concrete behind this? If not, boom.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, I totally agree with you. And the thing is with Dest is because he can play, he's more of a sort of closer to a winger than a fullback. So you're right to talk about the cover. Him being able to play on both sides and in the front three. Tuchel loves a versatile player. He might like this kind of guy just to be thrown around all over the gaff. Not that we need extra attackers. But with Emerson, I guess the story is there's no formal recall clause in the contract, so we're not formally allowed to just pull them back. But what we're saying is there's talk of compensation as well, which is just paying them to get your own player back. But needs must. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not much. So.
I think financially it works out better for us as well too. And I think, listen, Emerson's been decent in Liga, and as I keep saying, this is his moment now that I think he's been waiting for to come back and try and assert himself. The fact the manager likes you, that helps your case. Now you have to show finally that you can literally outcompete Alonso and then make it happen here. So, okay, I think that's enough with this January transfer talk. It seems like, of course, that's going to be our business, fullback areas. Now, let's move on to some of the games that we played this week. It has been good for us. We beat Tottenham, Carabao Cup first leg. I think that's the perfect time and perfect segue now. And Jan, of course, getting that first leg advantage over Spurs is going to make our life a lot easier for next week now. Big time. I thought Spurs didn't really show too much of anything, and to be honest with you, I felt really confident going into the game because I've seen Antonio Conte before. I do think in games like this, cup games, knockout games, that type of pragmatic nature and weakness is a harsh word for me to say, but that type of weak mentality in the games, I've seen it myself time and time again under him. Let's not forget that infamous game against Man City when the press was non-existent.
Oh man,
teams have a habit of doing that sometimes. Yeah. What was just your whole thoughts behind that game?
Conte, man. I mean, at the time we're recording, when we're recording, I think Tottenham are losing 1-0 to Morecambe, the team that we beat 4-0 under Lampard when we were in crisis. So Conte looks broken, man. Remember, like when he was like, "I think the level of Tottenham is not so high." That quote when he said it, he looked like after the defeat. By the way, they got off easy with their 2-0 loss.
Oh, for sure.
You know, they'll be thinking, well, the only positive was at least technically we're still in the tie left. They somehow roused themselves at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which, by the way, is a great stadium, and they've built it to have a great atmosphere. So, you know, it's not like it's gonna be some like dead ting if they get themselves up for it. And the Spurs fans were up for it at Stamford Bridge, so maybe they could, you know, the tie's not over in that sense.
Kind of feels like it though.
It feels like, you know what I mean? Because I'm with you. Because going into it, I was confident as well, but I was confident because I wasn't nervous and thinking about it. Till I actually had to force myself, and I tweeted this out. I was like, "Oh, imagine if we lose to Antonio Conte's Tottenham," because it was like exactly. It was like
that was never going to be part of our destiny. I was just thinking, there's no way in hell Conte comes back to play against us at Stamford Bridge and he gets a victory. I just could never see that happening. No.
So it had to be like a sort of like weird thought experiment rather than like an actual. Do you know what I mean? This could happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, it would be obviously it's important. I guess we talk about the sort of formation switch, which forced Antonio Conte to switch formation in the second half as well. Made it looks a lot better. I think Lukaku didn't have an amazing game, but he had a pretty good game. Like, you know, and obviously just coming back into the side and again occupying those same sort of spaces there he wants to. So that, from obviously what we discussed at the beginning of this video, is a promising sign of a flourishing understanding between manager and talismanic record signing.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you think of the shape? How do you think it proved?
I think for me, you know, finally, this is the type of flexibility tactically I've been waiting to see. I've been saying for a while, most of our attacking players are the ones that are fit, and I feel like now it's a great opportunity to try and find a system to get the best out of them. And you know, Tuchel throughout his career has been a guy that's relied on many different formations because his main ethos is on, you know, on beating the opposition team and exploiting their weaknesses. And I think, I definitely think that factor of surprise helped us in our favour against Spurs. For sure, Conte had no idea we'd be using a back four, and that definitely did help us. They had no reaction to that at all in the first 45 minutes. And yeah, you know, it was nice to see, you know, certain attacking players playing in their positions, being able to show other dimensions of the game. And
Ziyech.
Ziyech, Mount for sure. You know, I like when Mount's deeper receiving from like the fullback and the centre back. I think he can really like kickstart the plays. You know, he's very good at creating from deep as well. And Ziyech as well, I'm finding like a way to use him in this like asymmetrical 4-4-2. I think this is really what Tuchel's about. You know, creating those overloads, exploiting teams, and I want to see more of this.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Well, now we've seen a little bit, I think we could absolutely see more of it as well. The concern was about Tuchel changing formation, especially in times of crisis. Even you could argue, like you say, it helped us because of the players available. Was when do we drop this in? Like, do we drop this in now? Do you drop it in when you're on a big winning streak? Like, we keep winning, let's change formation. So I had a bit of sympathy for him, but you know, dropping it against Antonio Conte's Tottenham London Derby semi-final, it's a high-profile game, and I love how he's just so chill about it as well. He's not like, we went for it and we freaking did it, man. It was just like, we changed the shape and it was fine. And, you know, it makes it seem like it isn't a big deal in his eyes, which is really important as well.
I think that is important, you know. I think one thing that like Tuchel really like reinforced too is this idea that, you know, we had no time to prepare for this game, essentially. But we found out last minute that Kante and Silva got COVID. I was like, crap, you know, I'm sure he had a sleepless night that night having to formulate how we were going to, prepare for Spurs now. And it's just like, he really reiterated the courageousness, because I'm guessing, you know, the players had to accept the system and also, you know, play with that assertiveness, you know, no doubt behind what they had to do. And I think it was a very good reflection of the quality of player that we have. And also, I think, you know, Tuchel, maybe it's a realization that, listen, this is barely any time to get this running in. First leg, calm, could have easily been 3-4, whatever. Let's let the team cook a bit more. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm totally down for that, man. And like, especially after watching that first leg, I'm comfortable seeing it. And you know, Ziyech was bought to like play that sort of right wing role, and when he's in occupying that space, he's comfortable. He puts in performances like that. You could say it for a couple of other players, like, you're right to mention Mount. He's sort of inherently a number 8, really, a Mount, isn't he? He wants to be a bit deeper. And you could argue that with loads of other players, maybe even like Hudson-Odoi playing more of a conventional winger rather than one of these inside 10s. Like, he wants to have chalk in his boots. He wants to get to the byline. He wants to dribble and take on a man from the outside coming in. That's what he is. He's a winger, So man, I'm totally down. And also, you can probably afford to have slightly more defensive fullbacks. I think Tuchel even mentioned playing Chalobah as a right back and stuff like that, and Chalobah can get forward as well, so you'd feel safer him defending that. So why not? I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Damn right. And I think now, man, one thing I was definitely here for was yesterday's 5-1 win over Chesterfields. FA Cup. It has been a tournament that has been evading us these past 2 seasons. 2 funnel appearances, 2 defeats, uncharacteristic. And for me, when you lose so many finals like that, FA Cup for me is a high priority trophy.
Big time, man.
Can't be 3 times in a row right now. Let's discuss yesterday's game against Chesterfields. Maybe one of the big talking points and shining stars of yesterday's game was young 17-year-olds Lewis Hall, who, for me, there was a squad that had international players, big money players, plus, big name academy grads as well too. And the fact that, I don't care that he played against a conference team. I think we all know the reality. I'm not going to patronize him like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more the fact that he was able to be one of the standout players in that game, if not the standout player out of all these other experienced guys playing in the team. What were your thoughts on Lewis Hall's performance last night?
Superb, man. I was 17 as well. It's not like it's sort of 19-year-old.
It puts our lives in perspective, right?
Yeah, mate, mad. So I don't watch much academy football. I listen to a lot of podcasts and people talk about, and then there are a lot more about academy football than me. And I knew him as sort of like a guy who can come in and play wing back, central midfield. I think it was Chelsea Youth on Londoners Blue said, he could play in technically in the back 3. But I was expecting him. I did not expect to see him starting there, and I was like, wow. And after a while, you sort of see where he was actually his role in the team, and he was everywhere, man. He was taking up that Rudiger role of being dominant defensively, getting back, excellent recovery, but just charging in, getting an assist. He was sort of involved in another goal as well, so absolutely man of the match. It's just fits the theme, isn't it? Another one from Cobham that's that people are talking about now. It's not just you and I as Chelsea fans gas that academy boys are coming through. It's like a recurring theme from the world of football. Here's another one. Do you know what I mean? I'll pick another Chelsea superstar, and I'm mindful that people get too over the top purely just on the premise of he's 17. Do you know what I mean? I just don't know how to feel about you know what I mean? But he was incredible in that match, and rightly crowned man of the match as well, man. Yeah,
for sure. What a positive performance from him. And for me, I love how these academy guys come in. There's no fear, there's no self-doubt, there's no nerves, and I've seen it before in previous seasons years back. I remember when guys like Miroslav Stok was making his name in the team under Lampard and co. I remember in the stadium just realizing no one wants to even pass this guy to begin with. So the way that the culture's really changed is
big time.
I mean, benefited from it big time, and it brings up that eternal question of this is why we must always take the players who produce in my club seriously. Me personally, man, I do think in football it's not just about signing big money guys for every position all the time. I don't think there's like hundreds and hundreds of great players around where you could build infinite amount of scores for any big team and still get that same level of success, in my opinion. But I do think that if you're a club that has an academy that you've cultivate your own culture, your own winning culture,
100%.
your own style, your own breed of player you want, that will always set you up and give you a bigger advantage compared to any other club out there.
And it's like the way they're educated at Cobham is obviously they're all certified ballers in terms of their ability because they've been selected and sieved out. But what makes them so good is they're churned out with this work ethic of start to finish that perhaps you won't get with European imports and stuff. They're literally, they don't stop and they're just so fit, and they're just so and you'll get so much pressing from them, and mistakes from recoveries from mistakes and stuff like that. There's this mentality that's been like I say, cultivated through years and becoming graduates, and it's what makes the Chelsea Academy the best. Not the fact how they buy talented kids and teach them how to kick a ball well and teach them how to systemically work in a setup. It's literally the ethic, that ethos of like hard work. You don't stop. You don't dip from a mistake. And they almost, I don't want to make them sound robotic, but it's just how good they've been taught.
For sure.
And stuff.
Like I'm always saying, man, Cobham is like going to Oxford or going to Cambridge or Yale or Harvard. Like when you're making it there, you know that you've got a career in this game. And I think for Lewis Hall as well too, this guy's been with us since 8 years old, and it's another academy guy that's not just been bought when he was like 15 or 14. He was here from like the start as a kid, growing up with the club, and he's played in 5 different groups this season. Under 18s, under 19s, under 23s as well. Of course, I think another under something I'm forgetting about. Of course, the first team as well. And like in his interview afterwards, he's saying, "I've every goal I had, I've exceeded already. I need to take the next few days off to see, like, okay, what do I do from here now? What's the next goal?" And I think after getting that glimpse, that taste of first team football, exactly. Now I've got that taste of first team football. I'm addicted to it. I need to try and get it again. So honestly, I like to give little claps, even though I know he's not watching this. But the scene, like how nervous he was in that interview afterwards compared to how he was performing on the pitch. Wow, incredible. Yeah, no,
so I loved watching that one on the FA one they interviewed with him, and man, it was so nice. Because he's like, and it's not condescending because he's a beast on the pitch, but it's a young 17-year-old lad that's just overwhelmed, but he's still got you can tell he's nervous, but he's got his chest out still. And I was just like, in the least condescending way, I was like, bless him, that's dope. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, for sure, man. It's just like, you just want to give all these kids a little hug, I guess. I don't know why I said that, but I'm starting to feel like I'm an uncle now. I've been watching these guys from young or something. Uncle Nini right now. Flipping out. But bro, I think that's everything covered for this week. I think we've kind of broken down, discussed everything, and now I'm just looking forward to next week where, City, Spurs, hopefully some momentum, something comes with like left back news as well too, but maybe next week we can discuss it again, bro. But I just want to say thanks, Jan, for coming on. Of course, you guys in the description, cards above. You've got to click on Football Therapy, one of the best Chelsea fan channels out there right now. Jan, any closing thoughts before we keep it moving?
Mate, we've nailed it all, I think. We've literally covered everything. So, thanks for having me, bro.
That's it. And if you want to see more of this type of content, of course, comment below. But on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.